Welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV screen to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. And welcome all of you. Yes, welcome once more to the studio, the place where we work our magic, the place where we use and abuse technology to capture my image and the sounds that I make when I sing. I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Now, as I'm sure you all know, we use the latest cutting-edge technology here, which means, of course, that we're working with these things. Yeah! Far out! Mega! Wicked! We're standing on the cutting edge of technology. And of course, there's the audio angle to consider as well, isn't there? Yes, but don't worry, we're up to speed concerning audio matters too. Look at the technology we use to capture the audio, the noises and stuff that come out of my voice box. No, don't worry, I'm joking. That's not what we use to capture audio. As if. No, no, no. We're far more technologically advanced than that. We use this. Yes, pretty impressive, isn't it? And after we finish, we send all of the videotape and the LP records we used in the show downstairs. And there we hand everything over to the editors. And they take scissors and rulers and things like that and cut things up and then sellotape things to other things, and that's it. Then we run up to the top of the building and plug this thing into that thing and beam, transmit, send the signals out from a big aerial which is attached to the top of the building. And that's how it gets into your TV. Honest. All right, enough about the mind-blowing cutting-edge technology that we use. Although, we should think about that adjective for a moment. The adjective cutting edge. It's a simple idea, but it's a very useful adjective. And we see it all over the place. The initial idea comes from the idea to cut. Now, we all know the verb to cut. When you go to the hairdressers or the barbers, you go and get a haircut. You sit in a chair and someone washes and then cuts your hair. They use something with a sharp edge, a pair of scissors usually, to make your hair shorter. Okay. So we know that scissors can cut, but what else can we use to cut things? Well, when you're eating, use a fork to hold your food and you cut it with a knife. So we know that we can cut things with a knife too. Swords can cut things. And if you go into hospital for surgery, then the surgeon, the doctor with the knife, will use a special knife, a scalpel, to cut through your flesh, to cut into your body, to perform surgery on you. Okay. So we know that there are several things that we can use to cut other things. Paper can cut too, and paper cuts are normally pretty painful. But enough about accidents at the workplace. Let's think for a moment about why these things cut. What is it about these implements, these tools, that makes it possible for them to cut things? I can cut something with a knife, but I can't cut something with a thermos flask, can I?
Okay. One piece of bread, one thermos. Can I cut this piece of bread with this thermos? Well, let's find out. It's not really doing it, is it? Nope. No cutting edge, no sharp edge. It's blunt. We can't cut with a thermos.
No, I can't. And why? What's the main difference between a knife and a thermos flask? Yes, one is sharp, one has a sharp edge, and the other is blunt. It doesn't have a sharp edge. That's why we can cut things with one and not with the other. So, there's another word which we might not know, the noun edge. Well, an edge is a noun which has got more than one meaning, but the meaning we want to think about now is the idea of the line which is made when two solid surfaces meet. So, imagine a table. Your dinner table, for example. It has 4 legs, and a top. Okay. Now think about the tabletop and think about the point where the top meets the side. That line there, that's the edge. So, when you were little, for example, when you were running about the flat chasing your brother or sister and you fell against the table and cut the skin above your eye, which part of the table was it that cut the skin above your eye? Yes, that's right. It was the edge of the tabletop, the line where the top of the table connects to the side of the table. Now, think about your school days. This is only relevant to some of you, so if this didn't happen to you, then ask your mum or your dad. Or possibly you'll have to ask your grandparents. Anyway, many years ago, back in the old days, when everything was powered by steam and there wasn't any colour, only black and white, Hungarian teachers used to have a special punishment for their pupils. Now, this didn't happen to me. We were punished differently in the UK, but a long time ago in Hungary, if you did something wrong, the teacher made you hold your fingers together like this. And then the teacher would hit the ends of your fingers, your fingertips, with a ruler. Okay. And which part of the ruler did the teacher hit your fingertips with? Yes, that's right, not the flat part. No, the teacher hit your fingertips with the edge of the ruler. And why? Why did the teacher hit your fingertips with the edge of the ruler and not with the flat part of the ruler? Why? Why, because there's less area at the edge, which means that it'll hurt more. Okay, now, back to where we were, an edge. Okay, now we all know what an edge is, and now we get to the idea of a cutting edge. That's the part of a blade which cuts something. So, when you think of a knife blade, the part of the blade which actually does the cutting, that's the knife edge, the line where the two sides of the blade meet. Most knives have one cutting edge, but if we think about a sword, for example, some swords have a double edge. These are double-edged swords. Okay, now that's the original idea of a cutting edge, but as I said, we use this as an adjective too. When we use it as a noun, we're talking about the part of the knife blade which does the hard work, the part of the knife which actually does the cutting. When we use it as an adjective, then it's a connected idea, but, well, it's slightly different. When we use the adjective cutting edge, for a start, it's hyphenated. We connect the two words with a little line, with a hyphen, like this. So, that's what it looks like when we write it down. When we say it, you can't hear the hyphen, but when we write it down, it's there. All right, now, what about the meaning? Well, if we describe something as cutting edge, and normally when we use this adjective to describe something, we're talking about technology. So, when we talk about something being cutting edge, it's the idea that this is the very latest, most up-to-date, most modern, pioneering example. If something is cutting edge, it's the most advanced that exists. It's the very latest technology, the most advanced that we can get. I always think of it like this. Think of the blade of a knife moving through the air horizontally. Which part of the knife is cutting through the air? Which part of the blade meets the air first? Which part of the knife blade is the part which is at the front? The part which is right there at the very front. Yes, that's the cutting edge. Okay, now take that idea and think about technology. It's the same thing. This is the technology which is at the front of everything else. This is the absolutely most up-to-date, most modern technology that we know of. This is cutting edge. All right, and now we've clarified that, let's get back to what we were last looking at. And what was that? Yes, that's right. The last thing that we looked at was how we make negative sentences in the present simple. You do all remember, don't you? Of course you do. It was only yesterday for a start. All right. Now, as we all recall, the thing we have to be careful of is the fact that when we make a negative sentence in the present simple, we have to use an auxiliary verb, the verb to do, to help us make the sentence. All right. And that's not the only time when we have to use the auxiliary verb to help us, is it? No. And that's what we're going to look at now. We're going to look at the fact that we also need to use the auxiliary verb to do to help us when we ask questions in the present simple. Yes, we can't ask a question in the present simple without using the auxiliary verb to do. Well, we can if I'm being totally honest with you, but we can only do it with a couple of verbs. If we want to ask a question in the present simple using the verb to be or the verb to have, then we don't use, or we don't have to use, the auxiliary verb to do we? Think about how we ask a question in the present simple using the verb to be. For a start, how do we conjugate the verb to be in the present simple? Well, that's simple enough, isn't it? Yes. I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, we are, you are, they are. Most of the forms are the same. We know that. The only different ones are the forms we use for the first person singular and the third person singular. I am, you are. He, she, it is. We are, you are, they are. All right, now think about questions in English. What do we do to make a question? What do we move about? What do we swap? What changes position? Yes, that's right. With a positive statement, we start with the subject and follow with the verb. But when we're asking a question, we swap those two about, don't we? When we're asking a question, we start with the verb and follow with the subject, don't we? Yes. And that means that when we want to ask questions in the present simple using the verb to be, it looks like this. Am I? Are you? Is he? Is she? Is it? Are we? Are you? Are they? So that means that we can get questions like these. Am I Scottish or Hungarian? Are you married? Is he your brother? Is she your sister? Is it cold in your flat? Are we late? Are you ready? Are they new? All right. And we also know that if we want to ask a question using a question word, then we're going to start with the question word and follow with the correctly conjugated form of the verb to be, and then the correct subject, and so on, like these. Where am I? How are you? What is your name? Why is she late? When is your wedding day? Why are we here? How old are they? What colour are your new shoes? Alrighty, so we remember all of that information too. Good. Okay, now what about the verb to have? What about questions we ask using the verb to have? Well, the verb to have is a very good example for us because we can use it in two ways. If we want to use have that way, the way that I normally do, as have got, then when we ask a question, we don't need the auxiliary verb to do. With have got, when we ask a question, we start with the correctly conjugated form of have, either have or has, and then follow with the correct subject. Then we add got and follow with the rest of the sentence and a question mark, like this. Have I got enough time? Have you got any beer? Has he got a car? Has she got a superbike? Has it got a name? I've cut my foot off. Have we got any plasters? Have you got time to see a film? Have they got any kids? Okay, so if we're using have got, then when we ask a question, we don't use the auxiliary verb do. We just start with have or has and then follow with the subject and got. Simple. But if we only use have and not have got, then if we want to ask a question, we have to use do. As it's the end of the lesson, that'll have to wait until tomorrow. Yes, gang, it's the end of the lesson. Old Father Time has opened the door of the studio and is tapping his watch to indicate that it's time for us to wrap things up. So, we will. I'm off home to get a coffee, and as for you lot, well, I don't know. Either you've got some chores to finish or some homework perhaps. Or maybe you've got some free time and you're going to have a look at the vocab we've put up on the website. You know, I don't. Anyway, whatever you do, remember to have fun. I'll see you all tomorrow. And you know what day tomorrow is, don't you? Yes, and it's not Tuesday. See you tomorrow. See you later. Bye.